Boy, do I have a story for you. Retirement application issues next, right here on Fednobabble.
This is Fednobabble, where Kevin and Cassie make federal retirement benefits understandable for humans like you. These two don't hold back as they answer questions from the Fed Pilot workshops and webinars or from questions submitted by you at fednobabble.com.
Okay, Cassie. I've got a story for you. Are you ready for this one?
Okay.
All right. I just heard this from a financial advisor who was working with two federal employees, and they were married to each other. So a federal employee couple. He was going to keep working, but she was going to retire. So what they decided to do was take her application and independently they were going to fill it out and then see how similar or dissimilar they were from each other.
Well, hold on. So you have the husband and the wife, or wife, husband, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the situation.
Wife and husband in this one. Yeah.
Filling out a retirement application for one spouse.
For one spouse.
Okay.
And they just wanted to see, did we come close to each other? Did you pick the same things that I would have picked? So they did this independently. They came together and said, okay, here, and they showed the advisor, here are our two applications. And they couldn't have been more different. And on top of that, they both made a number of mistakes. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And that is okay. So that scenario itself is really telling for everyone who is going to fill out an application, right? Just how easy it is to get it wrong. And Cassie, if I remember correctly, I asked you this question. I'm going to ask you the question right now. Out of 100 people who turn in an application, how many of them have something wrong on their application?
99%.
Okay, Cassie, that seems so unrealistic. You say, okay, come on. Seriously, 99%. Could it really be 99%?
Seriously.
It is.
Because there are questions that get answered incorrectly. There are missing documents that happen because they don't realize that there's, maybe another FEGLI form that they have to include to talk about their FEGLI elections. And I mean, there's just so many different pieces. And to point out to your story, I mean, you have a husband and wife, right? Granted, the wife is the one retiring.
Right.
And is your spouse going to pick the same election?
Right.
Really talk with them and figure out how much of my income are you going to need when I die?
Yes.
Because I guarantee that most are going to say 100%.
Right. Absolutely.
And if that's the case, I really hope you're talking to a financial professional.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So another instance happened in a workshop. I said, what do you want to do when you retire? I asked the class, what do you want to do when you retire? And one guy raised his hand and he said, I want to live on a sailboat and then travel all over. And his wife was next to him and she just kind of sat back and went, wait, are you kidding me? When were you going to tell me this? So, yes. So it's a kind of important, number one, to involve your spouse. That would be really good. But at the same time, I want to be really careful what I say next, because I love HR and I overall think that they do a good job. However, HR doesn't know your situation. They don't know, honestly, first off, to tell you the truth, and just to be blunt, they don't know all the rules. Very, very, very few of them know even a deeper level of all the rules. But if they...
So let me stop you right there.
Okay, go ahead.
You have people coming through your workshop all the time from so many different agencies, HR included, from these different agencies. How many HR employees do you get that don't even understand what you teach in your workshops?
Yeah. They come to our workshops to learn what they need to learn so they can help the federal employees that they're supposed to help. I mean, they use it as a primer and a kind of a basis for what to say to federal employees who come to them. It's kind of it works backwards than what most people would think, right? Most people would think, oh, HR is the fountain of all knowledge, and then I'm going to go to a workshop to learn maybe some extras. Well, actually, it's the opposite way around. You may go to HR for a little bit, but the bulk of it a lot of it can't be told by HR because they're not, for example, we talk about taxes and tax strategies. HR will never do that because that's not an HR benefit, right? But it's a critical part of that. So in saying that, go ahead.
You're going to get different. You're going to get different answers even if you do ask about taxes, right? Because they can only tell you, like if you just simply ask them for retirement, for instance, right? Since we're talking about retirement issues here, if I go to HR and I say, are the federal taxes taken out of my pension? What are they going to say?
Well, yeah.
I don't know. Why? Because that question is on the application.
Right.
If you want taxes federally taken out of your pension or not.
Right.
That is your personal choice. Furthermore, if you're in a state that
has state taxes, that
is completely separate because those are not automatically taken out.
Right.
You're not left for those to be taken out in your retirement application. That's something that you have to specifically ask OPM to do once you're retired, and then they'll allow state taxes to be taken out. But what if you're not in the same state? Do you even know if you're going to be in a state that has tax on a pension? Like if somebody is going to be on a sailboat in retirement, they may not have state taxes at their primary residence because that's going to be down in Florida or, up north in Washington or who knows where that's going to be in a state that may or may not have taxes.
Right. So think about that. HR is saying, am I going to have state taxes pulled out? If they just say yes, well, that's not actually true because you have to frame it. Okay, it depends if you do it or not. And during the interim period, no, you're going to have to do that yourself. But when you get the full ones, then possibly. And I forgot to tell you, I'm moving to another state. Well, again, they're not going to dive in that deep. So that's why it is so important that having HR look at your retirement report or your retirement application, I think is a good idea. If you can find someone, right? A lot of people can't even find an HR person to do that if you can find. But that is not enough. It is so important to have an advisor take a look at your report just to make sure you're not leaving any money on the table. And I won't get into it now, but I'll just drop a little truth bomb here, Cassie, just for the fun of it. As I talk to advisors and we talk about specific benefits, I hear every now and then they'll bring this up. I'm not prompting them to bring it up, but they just bring up, this person made this move and left hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table that they'll never be able to recover, that they could have had they made one small change. And that's no joke. That's a ton of money.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at the retirement application, right? There are choices that you make on this application that are irrevocable.
Right.
That means once you've made the decision, you cannot change it once your pension or the application is finalized.
Right.
Okay,
Done.
That could be 3 months, that could be 9 months, that could be a year after retirement. Okay, you only have up to that time to make any changes. But once everything is finalized and it's said and done, a lot of your choices are concrete.
Right.
You cannot make changes afterwards. And so you want to make sure that what you're intending to do is actually what you are putting on the application. That's actually one service that we offer for financial professionals. And this is why they love using Fed Options as their back office support. We're here to go over the complex issues. We do retirement application reviews. That's one of the services that we provide. And so if you are curious, reach out to us and we'll connect you up with somebody who will help you navigate through those choices, because we want to be sure that you're making the correct elections, that you're using the right documents, that you're including all of the information
Yes.
that you need. Because we know how important these decisions are. And it really is crazy to me when people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to retire, at the end of the month. And so I'm going to get my paperwork together and then turn it in. And it's like, this isn't something that you want to do on a whim. This is definitely something that you want to plan for at least a year in advance to make sure all of your ducks are in a row just in the paperwork.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's, income needs and things like that you're going to want to plan for as well, because like we talked about before, you're only getting those interim checks, for at least 6 months or longer. And so you really have to plan for that. And a lot of people didn't realize that. In fact, I was talking to an employee and he gives me a call, and he was a financial professional's, client, and somehow got my number. But anyways, he gave me a call and he was like, I just wanted to say thank you. I couldn't have retired without you. Like, you were the key to help me pull the trigger, because I would not have been able to make it happen in that time frame, because the 3 to 6 months to 9 months or a year is somebody who is filling it out correctly. It could take, that year long is definitely when there's other issues where they're having to come back and figure out, is a deposit owed? Is a redeposit owed? Do you want to pay it? Complete this form correctly. Do this, do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so you definitely want to make sure that, there's eyes on it before you turn it into HR, because once that happens again, it's very shortly after that where you're retiring, and then you can't make any changes. So that's one of the services we offer. Now, one thing I do want to point out too is that I think these forms are going to be digital very soon, and I'm sure that's to avoid. Yes, I'm sure that's to avoid some of these complications that they're having with people. In fact, I had somebody submit some information to me, and it was supposed to be a review, and I was like, this is instruction pages for, to complete this online. And so, and she looked at it and she was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was the employee's, actual application. And so they are providing guidance if they are doing it digitally, which is very great, but they're including so much more information. They're combining the application with the other documents that are going to be needed, like the SF 2818, the Fegley election, and things like that. So that way it's already there, which is really great. I'm curious to hear from other people if you have used the online tool, how user friendly it is, because I haven't heard of anybody using it, all the way through, and we haven't gotten any feedback from that. So I'm curious if you guys are, if your department is offering that online tool, how user friendly is it? Is it easy to navigate? Do you have any problems with it? What are the challenges that you have when navigating the tool, uploading documents, things like that? So essentially, what's going to happen is you're probably going to be able to e-sign for your application. I hope that they're going to be doing steps like, hey, Mr. Employee or Mrs. Employee, you fill out your information, then HR does their part, and then you get to review it before it goes to OPM.
Hope so.
That would be very good, because what happens if the agency makes a mistake?
Right.
Which I know, crazy, they would never.
But they do.
But it happens.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to do then? Because right now, if you don't sign your certified summary of federal service, they'll send the whole application back to you, and you get to review your service history before you sign it and say, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not.
Right. Yeah, because you would have to review it before you actually sign it, because when you sign it, no more changes should be able to be made by anyone else. You would think. I would hope so.
Yeah.
We would see.
Yeah.
Hey,
there are some slight windows that you can make changes. For the survivor benefit, you can make changes up to 18 months past the date of finalization.
Okay, that's good.
You can either increase or decrease it. But know that if you change, if you've your PERS or maybe a smaller option for the CSRS, and then you decide that you want to include more of a survivor benefit, you're having to back pay all of that extra premium with interest.
Yeah.
So that may not be in your best.
No.
In your best interest, literally, to to make that change after retirement. And for FEGLI, again, once you've made that decision, it's done. You cannot increase your coverage unless you want to decrease your coverage. If you want to decrease your FEGLI coverage after retirement, then you're able to do that. However, if you want to increase your coverage, you cannot do that once everything's finalized.
Yeah, there's so many points of failure in this. It's incredible. And not even just failure, but just mistakes where, that was okay, but you could have done so much better. You could have maximized your retirement in a different way that would have been better for you, but you just didn't know about it. And that's typically what it is. People would do it if they knew about it, if they knew it, but they just don't. And they're not going to unless they sit down individually and have someone look at their application and everything, not just the federal piece, but even, if they have a 401k, put all that into play, because that can make a big difference as well. So, boy, filling out a retirement application is no joke. It should not be taken lightly. It should be very careful. Let me end on this, if I could, Cassie, real quickly. Last week, I was in New England doing in-person workshops, and I was in New Hampshire. And one of the ladies that was in our workshop, so we do a 3-hour webinar, but when we're in person, we do an all-day one. And so she was in there, and she had already retired 3 months ago. And she was in the workshop trying to figure out what's going on. And I asked her a few questions. One of the questions was, so we started talking about the interim pension checks, right? I said, so what have you seen with your interim pension check? She said, I haven't received one yet. This was 3 months after she had retired, and she had not received an interim pension check yet. That means nothing from the government for 3 months being retired.
Wow.
And she said, and I think I have to go back to work. She wasn't planning on having to go back to work when she retired, but now that the money's not coming in, and she obviously didn't have the savings, and et cetera, she has to go back to work now. I felt so badly for her. That's horrible. Right. When you think you're done and you realize, no, I got to go be a part-time greeter at Walmart, or I got to do something to continue on because I can't live off of this. And if I do get my interim pension check and it's only 40 to 60% of what I deserve for the next year, how am I going to live off of that? And that's why we really encourage you to get a comprehensive review from one of our advisors in our trusted network, because they help you see in the future what you're going to need, so that 3 months, 3 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years. Oh, this bad thing happens. Let's figure it out now, fix it now, so that actually never happens in the future. Huge difference.
It's not enough just to have savings, right?
Right.
Is there another bucket that we need to be pulling from? Is your savings going to cover it? What are the tax advantages or disadvantages from using this bucket over here or this bucket over here, right? We don't want to have to dip into our TSPs any earlier than we need to.
Right.
Or other retirement investment accounts. So this is definitely something that needs to be planned for. Again, it's not something that you want to do on a whim just because you're fed up with the government. I know that it's stressful and everything else. However, this is definitely something that you want to take a look at, to take your time, planning for retirement, it is not something that you want to just decide that you're going to do without having a financial plan in place.
Right.
Again, our financial professionals can help you. So please reach out to us, Fednobabble.com. They'll be able to get in touch with you and get you a benefit analysis. First, you got to know where you're starting from before you can make a plan of where you're going. And so that's our goal, is to educate you on where it is that you're starting from, how to maximize your benefits the best way that you can for your situation. And, whatever planning needs to be done, they'll be able to guide you through that. So like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Take care, everyone.
To get Cassie's comprehensive report on your federal retirement benefits at no cost, no obligation, and no sales pitch, go to Fednobabble.com. While you're there, submit a question for them to answer on the show.